All right. We're joined with my mom, Karen Patota, again, and we're here at the 2025 leadership course at the Czestochowa Shrine in Doylestown. I guess talk a little bit about what this event is about. What's the purpose of it?
So we started the leadership course in 2009 as a way to start and rejuvenate our existing centers. And we had a location in Villanova for since 2009 till 2019. And then for the COVID year, we had to go to a virtual setting in our home. Wasn't too successful. So our first in-person leadership course happened again 2 years later at St. Patrick's in Norristown. And then last year, it was at the location of iCulture, Dr. Haas's. But anyway, the purpose of the leadership course is to have all the centers meet and have all the leadership positions rejuvenated. We also invite other centers to learn more about our approach. So they're invited to bring their workers, their board members, and see how we function without having compensated leaders.
So other centers, meaning other pro-life organizations that offer services, or just any pro-life organization?
So our whole approach is service-based. We are pro-life, but we're not just an advocate organization. We offer real help to a crisis pregnancy, before, during, and after a crisis pregnancy.
Have you had any good feedback from other organizations coming in to observe the leadership courses?
It's been a challenge because a lot of other social service organizations operate by having a highly compensated person making all the decisions, and in a situation where she's got to basically raise the money for his or her paycheck. And this can be problematic if that highly compensated person is not doing the job well or gets burned out and fried. And then the board is left to basically figure out whether they can operate without a director or they have to close.
So there's been case studies or numerous people that try to do basically every single job of their pro-life organization, and then you say, what's their runtime, like a year or two until they can't anymore?
It's the turnover rate for organizations that operate in this way is very high, as opposed to our approach, which utilizes everybody's spare time. So we have Tom, who's a director at Jeffersonville, who works a full-time job in another state and is able to come up and do his directorship in about 2.5 hours on site. He does a lot, not a lot. He checks in on client appointments and answers volunteer inquiries via email, but he is certainly not a paid, compensated person for 40 hours.
I briefly talked with him about, how do you control not wanting to do everything you can and basically burning yourself out. How do you kind of keep yourself in that role of, I can do what I can do, and everything else is up to the Lord. How do you kind of field out those type of people to know you have good staff or good volunteers? Do they just come and flow? Or?
Yeah, well, the test of somebody that's going to work out as a volunteer is consistency. So they could say, wow, I really like your mission. But unless they come in a consistent amount of time to start training, I don't consider them a real volunteer.
Gotcha. So I'm not a real volunteer.
You're consistent.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, but you're not trying to be an advocate.
Right.
Right.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We go deeper into this. One day, yeah. But yeah, so you have everyone from different branches come together, and they basically share their experiences, or they share their informations with each other? What is it that they exchange?
So we shared a common topic today with Dr. Ribeiro talking about artificial contraception, which it is a common interest for all the volunteers at A Baby's Breath to understand why we take that position against contraception. But then we do breakout sessions. So up in the director session, the Warminster director was talking about how to manage a large client base. She is blessed and she's talented enough to be able to handle a lot of clients. She has a lot of time, more than Tom does, which we don't limit that. We try and do the best with what we have. But the general manager session talked about how to build your budget, which I give details about that in my book, Creating Compassionate Places.
Gotcha. And then you said there's donation coordinating as the third arm of the
unfortunately, this leadership course did not have many interested parties in that training, but the donation coordinator from Phoenixville did come with a presentation just in case. There were people that wanted to learn that skill. So the other centers already have donation coordinators, but he was planning in case somebody wanted to learn that leadership position.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was other parts that were, I guess, minor faculties?
Not minor, but the nurses breakout session addresses what nurses can do for this organization, which they can either be helpful in offering ultrasounds or prenatal classes. We've had nurses do presentations at the parenting classes, and they are, Susan McInerney is both an advocate and the ultrasound manager. She does both.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's volunteer coordinating.
Volunteer coordinating is one position that I have tried many times over the years to replace myself. And one facet of it is the volunteer coordinating part, which Victoria is doing right now, which is to respond to volunteer inquiries and send them to the appropriate contact person that can begin their training.
Okay. And then, so you have all these parts of your organization all in one, basically for one session of half a day, and then that happens once a year. Does that kind of create a culture, do you think, that this is an organization that has to share its ideas to come with a good idea, each solution to each branch?
Well, we do talk about changes, adaptations to what we're doing. So today's conference talked about what we're doing to increase the number of candidates in the independence program.
Right.
And the housing program, we just moved from one home to another, so that we had to figure out what changes needed to be made to that protocol of housing. We had a loss, which again, I didn't stress this. The leadership course answers the question of what do you do in transitions, which every organization has them, whether they are for profit or not. It's especially problematic with a nonprofit and volunteer-based. So the leadership course is a part of that transition. Bring someone that's just an advocate to a leadership course, and that potentially could lead to her becoming a director.
Gotcha. So the leadership course is built around bringing up the advocates more so than it is about, like, that is its goal then.
Yeah, because from our experience, it doesn't really work out to bring someone from the outside in and crown them to be a director.
Okay.
Unless they've worked through the pipeline, saw how we operate. We compartmentalize. We're respectful of the time that people have to give us. 2.5 hours a week is what a typical advocate offers our organization. And then if she can handle that and she's got some organizational skills, then we consider her for leadership.
Okay. Is there like a timeline of how long you need to be advocate?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Okay. A certain amount of client count, you think, that would give them
Just
reputable hours?
because every center is different with their client base. So over at the home, and there might be less clients to have exposure to than Warminster, which, they just have a ton over there.
Okay. All right. What has been, I guess, some of the bright spots of having a leadership course? What have you enjoyed the most about it?
Just meeting everybody, because we're all spread across the calendar, and it's once a year that we get together and see each other face to face. We also do get together for the silent auction.
Yeah.
And the golf outing. Those are the three things that we do communally. But other than that, it's just the camaraderie to share experiences with one another, questions that come up. So, it's really good to have an informed speaker like Dr. Ribeiro speak to our organization, with the common thread across a lot of crisis clients that we serve is they have been indoctrinated with contraception. So they're either coming off it or getting put back on it. So it's really helpful to have an expert like Dr. Rivera to say, okay, is this her perspective? Do you have any questions? And you saw how many questions she fielded.
I guess, how do you get in contact with speakers that can speak so profoundly, I guess, about those topics? Because it seems like they'd be hard to find, but you seem to find one each year.
Well, I think God provides that. But the last speaker that we had, Dr. Hawes, was very helpful to understand how difficult it is to create pro-life law, quote unquote, pro-life law. Because in the turning of Roe v. Wade, as he mentioned, it actually inadvertently made it illegal certain aspects of, a pregnancy that cannot continue. And because the law just blatantly said all terminations are illegal now, it didn't make proper concessions for the situation of like a ectopic pregnancy, or there's other situations where it's the mother's life and the baby's life, and you try and reach that point where both could survive, right? And it's hard to write that into legal language. Yeah, but it's an opportunity, really, the leadership course, to bring everybody together and, have everybody well informed.
Gotcha. How do you encourage outside people, maybe who they're not even an advocate, they want to know more about what a baby's breath is?
I think that
what does the leadership offer for them?
The information, not through the lens of somebody that might have a different agenda. We are just trying to inform our workers so they have a better understanding of how to help their clients. And a lot of them come away with information that make them a better person to speak on behalf of a baby's breath.
Okay. I guess, is it nice to have all your children here today?
It's my reward.
Well, I did mention it to Tom because you've told it to me before. It says, we didn't pick at the age of 2 to start helping you with the organization, other than setting tables and closing tables at the silent auction. We chose at our young adulthood. We said this was the time because I feel a calling that it is time to help. And you mentioned it in speech that after we had the baby, me and Bridget, that it seemed like a good time to give back, because what was been given to me is something that, I can't give back, but I can try to give it to somebody else. So now it's starting to sound like a testimony than an interview, but I just want to mention that because it's important to know that when we have the gift of life and we have the order of life, love God, love your family, love your spouse first, then your children. When we have that order in our life, it's a blessing. And to demonstrate that and then give it as an example to others is how you spread it and give it more value to them. So I guess final question would be, how do you how do you feel the mission carried out by your children at this point?
Well, all of my children go to Mass and have a faith, and I believe are pro-life, not in word but in deed, and that means everything to me. So that was my paycheck.
How much was it worth? Can you retire on it? Be a grandmom for life too?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mom. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, baby.